Don't blink, it's your blink. Welcome to the Commentary Show. We're doing well because I'm having a wonderful day on this 21st May 2025. Today we are extremely motivated to make content. It is 9:18 on the clock. I'm going to be waiting another 40 minutes and then I'm going to go give out some CVs because your boy is motivated today. I feel like $100 bill, which is not a lot, but hey, I guess my standards are pretty low and that $100 bill is all it takes to make me look like a hero. Didn't mean to rhyme, but I guess we got the time. Today we're doing a new kind of videos. We're doing a duality. So think about devil advocate. Think about the search of truth, a yes or no. Look at it as the same coin, but different side of the same coin. So the very first thing that we're gonna do is what is the most important part? A man with a plan or a man with tools, right? So the idea came from a very important part of life. A man with a tool. I feel like in life, a lot of time I didn't have the tool that I needed. And then when it comes to content, I always romanticized and I always felt to be critical, acclaimed. The simple fact of saying, hey, I have a camera. I'm a man with a camera. I don't have a plan, but I have a camera, right? Even when you look at the Dark Knight movie, which is one of my favorite movie, right? Think about the Joker, and the Joker is really smart, but there's a place in the movie where he says, I'm just a dog chasing a car. I don't even know what I'm going to do if I catch it. That, to me, that was very poetic. That, to me, that was very senses. It made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense in the sense of, dude, how many things are we doing just because we can do it? Even at work, right now we're job searching. We have the tool that it takes. We're 2 arms, 2 legs, a functioning brain. For a lot of people, this is the tool needed to be a success. And company XYZ, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. But then with a man with a plan, the man with a plan has more so of a leadership role. The man with a plan might be able to do something in X situation, right? There's no need for tools if you don't know what to do. The man with a plan is it's kind of like a genius when it comes to how we're doing things. Kind of like a genius when it comes to assessing the situation, right? But he kind of do shit. Now, we are using Trailer Park Boys because I'm watching Trailer Park Boys. And yesterday we were watching an episode with Jim Leahy, who's a drunk supervisor, but somebody that's super smart in real life. John Dunsworth, rest in peace. And he was saying it is ignorance is bliss when it is folly to be wise. And that hit me like a fucking ton of brick. I was like, wow, that is so meaningful. But again, when you look at it, it's a play on duality. It is ignorance is bliss. Being dumb is amazing when everybody that's smart is crazy. And to me that hit because technically speaking, you want to be smart, right? But what if being smart was more harmful than being dumb? Then you want to be dumb, right? What are you choosing? You're choosing the way of wisdom or you're choosing the way of no pain, the painless way. This duality is extreme. So part 1, we're going to be talking about a man with some tools, which I'm really happy about because this is kind of where I'm aiming myself. So a man with a tool. See, in my case, a man with a tool would be camera. Why? Because this is my passion, this is my hobby, this is a dream, is to make content and a professional situation. And i.e., I make enough money to feed my family, and then I got a couple of bucks to go to the strippers, because they deserve some love too, right? Did I just say that out loud? I think I'm gonna take a sip. I'm married. And a lot of people have always told me, hey, Ink, you have so many ideas. We're sitting at 29,000 videos on the channel. Where do you get all of them? So the truth is, I'll see a movie, they'll talk about a subject, I want to do it. A lot of them, I think about 700 videos are food reviews, which I'm making content, I'm tasting something, so might as well use it. A lot of them are review, I'm watching the show, I want to talk about it. I'm hearing people talk on the radio. I think the idea, even my algorithm pushes content that I want to talk about. For example, talk about AI, talk about the nature corn, right? And to me, this is interesting because I don't even need to come up with an idea. It just happens. Now, in my case, it's a weird thing because I love the idea of a man with the tools, because as an underdog, that's the guy you want to win, right? It's not the leadership position; it's more of a follower. But with my ADHD and me thinking out of the box and me being inspired and me being very opinionated, right? I can technically have a plan, and that plan is just to follow my fucked up brain, right? A lot of people are inside a box, right? And we're going outside of the box, and because we're going outside of the box, there's a much bigger world out there than just the box, and just because there's a much bigger world out there than just the box, then all you're thinking about is, okay, well, what am I looking at outside the box versus what are they seeing inside the box, right? And because I bring the subject of outside the box, all I need to do is verbalize it for people that are inside the box, and then it looks like an idea that came from the box. Because it came from an idea, it looks like it came from the box. People are willing to acknowledge this concept or this idea, no matter what it is. And to me, that's beautiful because I'm presenting you an alien subject, and like, yeah, it makes sense. I'm gonna dig it. So, with content, in my case, I feel like I'm more so a man with a tool, but I feel like I'm more so like a man like a tool because being a man with a plan comes naturally. So, i.e., I'm gonna go out, right, and I'm gonna have my camera, and I'm like, oh, this is super cool, or hey, I could eat this, and they will make a video, right? Now, because planning is so easy for me, the tool is important because the camera, and even then, there's been moments in my, I don't want to say career because to me that sounds a little bit obnoxious, but there's been moments where I saw some beautiful landscape and I had a shitty camera. My only good camera is this phone, to be honest, right? And I was like, dude, you should have so brought the good camera. I didn't think about it. And that's on me. That's completely on me. I'm the one to blame. Shame on H, right? But at the same time, if I had a tool, those tools were meaningless because those were instances that could have filmed. Like but a nice sunrise. I didn't make the sunrise. I just filmed it, right? And I can have the tool. If there's nothing to film, there's nothing to film. For example, look at this today. Doesn't matter if I have a tool, right? There's nothing to film. And if I had a plan and I could do nothing, even then I could find a thing to do, right? So, in my opinion, the man with a tool, and it's always about being equipped, right? Situation. My issue with being the man with a tool, I say for positive, be prepared is amazing. Being equipped to deal with situation is amazing. Doesn't matter what happened. If you're equipped for it, you'll be able to, that's the point of life. Learning lesson that way. When it happens again, you're able to face it, right? Having a tool is so much better than having no tool because you're like, well, I'm equipped. I think I'm repeating myself, but the main plot is you're equipped. XYZ happened, you're equipped, and XYZ might never happen, and there's a beauty in that. I'm seeing people put so much money in their retirement funds, and then they die of a heart attack, they die of an accident, and then you're like, what? So the retirement funds, what happened with it, right? They had a plan, it didn't work. A tool, it will work no matter what, right? Have you ever heard of a hammer that didn't hammer? Have you ever heard of a nail that didn't nail? It doesn't happen often, right? But then there's cons to that. There's cons to the fact that you have tools. If you don't know how to use a tool, if you don't know in which situation to use a tool, if you could have used a tool but you didn't use it, then it becomes completely useless, right? The man with a plan will find a solution, and will find multiple solutions in any single case. There's a situation. Here's my plan, right? Okay, well, it doesn't work. Okay, well, I got another plan. The man with a tool will say, well, you know what? Got a crack in your door. I have a drill. Let's drill a screw in there, right? And then you realize that the door itself is fucked up or it's crooked because you screwed the nail. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take out the nail, but you still have the same problem, right? A man with a plan would be like, okay, well, let's look at the door. Let's look at the door and let's see how it's broken. But it's such a complex thing because you're basically saying the idea versus material. My capacity to acknowledge the situation versus my I'm sorry, I'm tired. Um, my capacity to acknowledge and understand a situation versus my capacity to solve a problem or situation with what I have. I saw some people do some beautiful thing with a screwdriver. I saw people do some beautiful thing with a sandpaper. Saw some beautiful thing being done with freaking mud that became clay, and people made it. Because again, you need a tool, and the tool in itself isn't necessarily. And I keep talking about the tools being a hammer and a drill, and everything else. What if the tool in itself were your hands, your feet? What if the tool in itself was your body? Right? Once again, we're talking about the brain versus the body, and that is a complicated subject. So this is what I think about a man with tools, right? Now I was gonna do a man with a plan, but I think a man with a plan video. I think they're so short, both of them. And I can do a mega video. So let's go with a man with a plan. Now a man with a plan is actually quite simple. A man with a plan is, once again, is the idea behind it. Their situation, there it is. The biggest pros of a man with a plan is capacity. Once again, repeating myself, but I think it's important to acknowledge a situation and plan towards situation, right? A man with a plan will have a better leadership of the situation. Hey, listen to me, I have this idea, right? Versus somebody that says, well, I can do it. Truthfully, there's more people that are able to do something than people that are able to solve solution. That's why there's more bosses. That's why there's less bosses. There's less manager. There's less leadership position. I think a man with a plan is the role that nobody wants. The role that demands a lot more. People were looking at you for excuses. When you have leadership, people will look for you for leadership. Hey, well, they do it this boss, right? If you don't have a plan, you're not able to. And I think that because this is a harder situation, this is a more rare ability. I think there's also a lot of credit to be had when you have a plan. There's I was talking about before about being able to do a situation. For example, there's an amazing landscape, right? In the amazing landscape, you weren't able to see with your phone because you didn't have your phone. But it wasn't only the phone. Did you plan the battery? Do you have a good place to have a footage? Did you know that if you go, I live next to the lake shore. Did you know that if you go a little bit further to the north, you'll have a much better view, a much closer view to the ocean, right? And depending on the phone that you have, you possibly have enough zoom to make it look really well. So it's not about the footage. It's not about the footing of the footage. From where do I take the thing? For example, there's right now we're filming the nature corner, right? So you're seeing this. I live on the fourth floor, which means that I kind of have access to the sky view. I could have the same footage from the first floor, and all I would see is a wall. But because I'm living here, I acknowledge the fact that I'm able to have a great views. Now, there's three things with that. You would say the tool is, it's not a plan, the tool is the view. The view is a tool. You're able to see something cool, so you see something cool. But it is because I spent years staying in the house, not enjoying the sky view, right? If I had a better plan, I would be like, you know what? There's a beautiful sunrise. You're having a shitty day. Enjoy the sunrise. There's days where I had depression. All I need to do was to go out. I had agoraphobia, which means the fear of leaving the apartment. Technically speaking, for whatever reason, the balcony is more so a place of the apartment than outside. So I could have went from the balcony and slowly heal my agoraphobia, because I'm more so a man that think. I didn't think about it. I mean, with a plan, when there's a situation that arrives, who find a solution? For example, the man with a tool. My problem with that is there's a person with a plan. There's a leadership person, and this person is wrong. You're not able to say, "Hey, you're wrong" to the person because they didn't plan ahead. I find myself in a position where I'm impulsive a lot. I'm gonna be doing things out of automatism versus, well, I wanted to do this, and because I'm doing things out of automatism, a lot of the time when I'm doing something, it's a case of were you really supposed to do that? What gives? Why did you do something? Do you think about the people who are hurting, right? So, for example, I go to my father's house. I think it was 2 days ago, and we're doing a job search, right? And with the job search, my stepmom, she's like, "Did you when you go to give out a CV, do you go to human resources?" And I'm like, "No, I trust people. If I give my CV to the cashier, my first thought isn't that they're gonna put the paper in the garbage." And then she said something that bothered me. She said, "What if she did?" And I'm like, "Holy shit, you're right." And then the idea that came from it, right? The idea that came from it would have been like, "Hey, a lot of the cashier, a lot of the people that you give your CV to, will be honest people and give out your CV. But some of them just don't give a fuck. There's time where at work you didn't give a fuck, and if somebody gave you a CV, there is a crazy situation. There was this guy. Who came in, right? I was working at TD, and the guy came in and he was looking for work, right? But the guy smelled really like alcohol, right? And I told him we're not really looking for people, right? But the real thing that I should have done is to take his CV and bring it to the boss. Fuck what you think. You're not the boss. You take the decision. He's gonna be the one that's saying no, right? The fact that I said no. It wasn't my place to be. But I judged him on smelling like alcohol, right? If I was a man with a plan, I'm like, dude, if the guy's a fuck up, the boss is gonna see it. Maybe the guy just had a step back, and that's why I felt bad, I felt really bad because I'm like, dude, you shouldn't have done that to the guy. And that is pretty much it. So, running back to what we were talking about, man with a tool versus a man with a plan, it's depends on the situation, but most of the time, then again, if we're talking about it depends on the situation, then we're automatically talking about, well, some situations are going to be better for the man with a tool, some situations will be better for the man with a plan, right? So now, the question is, in most cases, if you want to think about school, right? When you think about school, one of the most important subject in my mind, in my opinion, would be mathematics. Now, why mathematics per se? Because in the day-to-day basic, I ended up using more mathematics, right? But for some people that were using more geography. When it comes to geography, I suck. When it comes to science, I suck, right? I suck. I'm good at math because it's factual. It's the same thing. You know that 5 times 5 is 25. No matter what happens, it will never change, right? Now you know that 5 square times 5 is 125. When you understand that, it's easy. It's easy. You know that when you're doing time 5 and a third times 5, it is 650. You know that because automatically, right? But these are more so learned pattern or learned behavior versus critical thinking. Mathematics is a case of I'm putting this and this, and I know that this is it, right? It's just quick, right? But if I was placed with a problem, for example, there's a power outage. What am I supposed to do? Right? You're supposed to leave the apartment, right? That's critical thinking. You don't have that. It's enabled by the fact that you know your shit by heart. It doesn't allow you to think. One of my favorite radio station when I grew up in the apartment was Radio X, and the reason as to why was they were asking questions. They were being critical of the government, right? They were once again asking questions. Now, these questions didn't matter to do at the very least. It didn't matter at all. They only mattered because people were asking questions. But take away the question, you really need an answer, right? For example, right, if I ask you, why is the sky blue? There's a ton of reason why the sky is blue. You end up realizing that it is melatonin. It is the wave, the water reflecting on it. The planet is more so than not water. So because the water is blue, the sky is blue. It's reflection. Now, how does it help you? How does it help you from your day to day? Well, if somebody asks me why the sky is blue, I'll be able to answer. Yeah, but who's gonna ask you? Huh? A man with a tool will always be able to use them. A man with a plan will always be able to plan. What is more important? And that's the question. There's no answer. There's no answer. Factual people with with a more of a leadership capability, people that are more so planning things. My mom, she's more so a planner. She'll want to plan things. She'll say, hey, what should we do for this? And I'm like, Mom, we'll get there when we get there. My father the same way. My father's like, okay, well, John, for example, the taxes guy, he'll come next week. I don't have this paper. What are we gonna do? I'm like, well, I didn't receive it. So my father's like, what are we gonna do if we don't have it next week? I'm like, let's wait until next week and then even think about finding a solution. People planners, I'm more so a guy with a tool. The tool being the paper. I don't care where the paper came from. I don't care when it goes in. As long as I have it when I need it. Right? But once again, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I'll never know. There's a beauty in doing those videos. There's a beauty in doing a video that is supposed to be something that's thinking. I was watching Trailer Park Boys. Again, I'm obsessed with this right now. And at season 1, Bubble says Plato, one of the great thinker of olden time, one of the father of psychology, was saying there's such a thing as noble lie. If a lie doesn't hurt anybody and better their life, it's okay to lie. Right? Some people will stretch that. Some people will stretch that to say, God bless you. Some people will stretch that to say, hey, I didn't mean to hurt you, but I still hurt you, It was an accident, bless you. It was an accident. So yeah. I'm gonna go back in because I have to go out, give out some CVs. Take it easy. Peace.